Miami! Let's see what we can do around here. Oh, where did that come from? Well, I guess this one goes for the setup video then. Definitely butchered the lap there. Absolutely butchered the middle sector. Wasted all the lap time. Ah, right. Seems like we've hit a dead end, literally and figuratively as well for the setup. Now let's go back in and take a look at what we have done with the setup. So again, I've been trying a few things back and forth, but here you go, setup. Let's quickly get done with the setup because there's quite a bit different to other high-speed-ish tracks. Whereas here in Miami, you have a lot of slow-speed tracks followed by long straights. So you're going to be needing quite a bit of downforce into the slow corners to carry a lot of speed, and then out of the corners as well you're going to be needing sort of a balance. You want a bit of low downforce as well so you're competitive on the straights, but at the same time enough downforce so you can stop the car at the end of the straight as well, right? No point in having downforce at top speed if you can't slow it down, right? Now I've tried a few things, but at the end of the day this really works for me right now at this point of time, with the race coming up in 2 days though. So let's see, 30 front wing, 22 rear wing. It seems to be just a nice balance here around time trial as well. It was 31, 22 ish, something like that. So not much different. Again, it's just personal preference, and you can experiment, go with lower wings, maybe 3 clicks, maybe even 4 clicks, but just remember, the lower you start to go, the more difficult it is to drive in the middle sector and generally in the corners. And as your tires start to wear down in the race, you're going to be losing a lot more time compared to someone who has higher downforce. The good thing about having lower downforce is you regenerate more battery. But again, if you're going to be losing time in the corners, you might be using all that battery to catch up again. So it's a balancing act as usual, right? When you go high downforce, low downforce, you have to decide. Transmission 55 on throttle. Again, it's sort of the universal on throttle to use for all tracks in all conditions. Stay with that, that's okay. You can use 60 in the race, 50 in the race, whichever you prefer. The lower you go, the more rotation you get under acceleration. So if you want the car to rotate a lot more while you're accelerating, go for lower on throttle. If you want it to rotate less as you're accelerating, less wheel spin in some sense, you can go always 1 click higher through your MFD as well. Off throttle, like you can only adjust between park firming, between qualifying and race. So 50 is again drivable in race as well. I like to use 50 only for qualifying, or just lower it for qualifying, gets a bit more rotation. In the race, 51 and 52 works just nice as well. Suspension geometry, the usual, no changes, right, left. It is going to wear down your tires the least amount. It's not going to be so heavy on the tire wear with minimum toe and camber. At the same time, it's sort of the most balanced setup for suspension geometry. Well, technically, if you increase the rear toe, it's going to give your car more stability. but the understeer that you get out of it, it's not worth the stability. That's too much understeer for the stability that you get. Although you can play around with the other setup, you're gonna be losing time with more radio in. 1 or 2 clicks is just fine in my opinion. Suspension, now this is where we kind of going the opposite end of the spectrum when it comes to setting up your car for a track where it has a lot of slow speed like Miami, right? So normally you'll see somewhere in the 20s or 30s, usually 41, right? Front suspension maximum. But here I've gone for 21. I wouldn't recommend going any lower than this, because otherwise you'll really start to lose some grip in the high speed corners. When you go low on the suspension, it allows the front of your car to squat a lot more to the ground, which means if your ride height is not high enough, you're going to be losing grip. Now the reason why I've gone for high car with soft suspension is because, well, in the middle sector you need to take the curbs. Even in sector 1, 2, 3, pretty much the whole track, you have to take some of the curbs, even just touching it a bit. Soft suspension will help you take the curbs much more easily, and then high ride height will make sure you don't bottom out on the curbs, say you actually fully mount them by accident. So it's double safety there. And rear suspension as well, compared to the world record setup, the time trial world record is 41.11 I believe. Now I've gone all the way down. Again, you have to test this out step by step and see what really works for you. So this works just nice for me. I wanted to keep the rear more stable and give me better exits out of the slower corners, so 1 suspension and 1 anti-roll bar on the rear. Front anti-roll bar is just again a balancing act. It started off with 5 in the time trial setup. That gives you a lot more grip on the front into the corners, but since you already lower the suspension, so you can increase the anti-roll bar to give you sort of the same balance feeling in the corners. So it's a lot more stable coming out of corners, entering corners as well, mid corner while you're coasting and all that, your car feels stable. And ride height, it started off with 30-39. Now I've gone down all the way to 36 for the rear, just so in tandem with the suspension. I want the rear to be a bit lower to the ground so I get better grip on the exit. At the same time, I've increased the front ride height because I've lowered the front suspension. I don't want the car to bottom out. Well, that's just the reasoning. You can, to be safer, run 35, 37, 38 and all that. It's just going to be just fine. You don't really lose that much top speed here anyway. Brakes, 100% brake pressure as always, 56 brake bias, again just nice. You can run 55 in the middle sector. You did see, I was playing around with the brake bias throughout the lap. Now if you don't want to play around too much, you can stay with 56 or 57 throughout the lap, and that's just fine as well. Tire pressures, minimum, and seems to work. There's a reason why it works, because there's a lot of slow speed corners around here. You need a lot more mechanical grip, meaning a lot more grip from the tires itself. So lower pressures will definitely help you with that. When you go higher on the pressure, it definitely helps in high speed corners. The car is more reactive, but in slow speed corners, when you want the traction out of corners, you want the front end to bite into the corner, turn into the corner, you have to lower the pressures. So you may get some lower temperatures in your tires in the race, but it's not like it's going to end the world, right? It's better to have slightly lower tire pressures and lower tire temps, and you're safer to push harder. So there you go, setup, 30-23 wings, 55-51 transmission, right, left geometry, 21 and 1 suspension, 10 and 1 anti-roll bars, 34-36 right hand. A lot more neutral compared to other tracks. 100% brake pressure and 56 brake bias, and minimum tire pressure to start off. For qualifying, you can always run 3, 4, 5 clicks higher, because you have less fuel in qualifying, and usually you want a bit more responsiveness in the high speed corners. So there you go. Now let's ride on board. Maybe let's take a lap around Miami and see where we actually messed up and how you shouldn't mess up like I did, right? So let's go and play the fastest lap here. Again, on the exit of the last corner, you can go wide and carry the speed, or you can be tighter on the entry from the last corner and be straighter on the exit. Each way, both ways are doable. Again, up to you, whichever you feel more comfortable to do it. DRS wide open at here, wide line is there, wide open, just make sure you click on time, and then let the car run wide on the start of the straight. Bring it to the far left, 100-meter board, black box, or the red and white curve. That's where you're going to be starting to brake. And then fourth gear as you are turning into the corner, and a late downshift to third. That's what I find, again, it's kind of like how the game works this year. You want to be doing the last downshift a bit late into the corner, and then power as soon as you can. Keep the car straight. You see I have a little correction over here. That's again given because the car has a lot more front end grip. But if you can control that and keep the car straight, and on the exit you want to take this curve just a bit here. Don't want to take any more than this. So ride it with the tires, not with the floor. All right, and then as soon as you're done, you're going to be flat here. Avoid that inside, avoid touching the curb while you're accelerating, and then bring the car back to the right hand side, and then into the next part of the track here, somewhere around the 50 and the black box. That's where you're going to be starting to turn into the corner. In qualifying, you just have to lift and downshift to 6th. Here you can dab the brake just a little bit to get the front turn into the corner here, and again ride it with the tires, not the floor. Otherwise it will over rotate the car and you will spin out. Same here, although I'd like to be a little wider here so that I can carry more speed, but never mind that. And then now here is a blind entry zone, right? So you want to be trying to find a braking marker here. For me, if you look on the outside, there's this exit zone, there's P0 written all over the track on the black parts. So right as the first P0 ends, second P0 ends, so somewhere between the second and third, that's why I brake. Take the car down to third, again a late downshift to the last one, and then point the car into the apex. Ride a bit on the entry curve here, but you don't want to go any higher than that. Flat, and keep the car straight on the exit. Again, this is a bit over the limit here, but I think the ride height just saved me there. Just because I have a bit higher ride height, I didn't bottom out here. So ride the curve on the exit. I gain a lot of time, of course, for some reason. Maybe just better driving this time around. And then into the next part here, DRS will be activated right here under the bridge. That's the white line, which is sort of overshadowed by the shadow. Poof. And keep the car tight to the left to gain a few thousands in your qualifying lap. Bring back over to the right as you are going to end the section here. And right after this red and white curve starts, that's where you're going to be starting to think about braking. 100-meter board, or as you go under the bridge, that's where you're going to be starting to brake heavy, and then trail the car into the corner. Third gear is what you're going to be taking it in, maybe second in the race, and then upshift to third again. Stay tight here. I could have been a bit tighter on the entry. I lost a bit of time here. And then as soon as you can, upshift to fourth, and as fast as you can, go flat for a brief moment, and then start lifting again so that the car starts turning into the corner. You straighten the car out before you brake into the next part of the chicane here. All right. So third gear, second gear, whichever works for you. We did a bit of a nightmare here. We didn't really mount it correctly. We had a bit of correction here. Now that's still fine. You will have to practice that line to get how you can turn in and how you can exit as per your liking, but this is just a general guide. Red and white curve, as it starts, that's where you're going to be turning into the corner again. You don't want to mount the curve too much like I did here, because it unsettled the car on the exit. As you can see, it's just shaking a bit. So you want to just maybe touch a bit or entirely miss it. All right, but at the same time you want to be, as soon as you can, be straight on the exit. Now get on the power as soon as you can. Fourth gear, fifth gear, go up the gears, and then DRS will be activated as soon as this barrier ends. This is the white line. Turn it on, and then into the final braking zone of this track. Right as you pass the Aramco sign over you, the overhead sign, that's where you can start braking if you want to brake earlier. 100-meter board is the latest you can brake. So brake down to third gear, carry the speed into the corner, and then let the car run wide on the exit to carry the speed as well. And then you can go on power much sooner this year. Make sure your car is as straight as possible when you're trying to accelerate up to fourth gear, fifth, sixth. Keep the car tight to the left and then to the right. DRS open again, and then stay to the right again. Then few 1-2 thousands on the run up to the finish line. And there you go. That is a scuffed lap around Miami. But now you get to learn to do what I did not do correctly, which is, avoiding mistakes. Now that is done, and I hope you have some good time driving around this track. And I'll see you in the next setup, whichever it might be. Alright, if you have anything you want to request, let me know in the comments, or join the Discord and let me know as well what you would like to see next. Till then, stay safe and bye bye.